Hey gang, Mark McCall here with another video helping you prepare your images for print competition. And in this video, I'm going to show you a trick that I've been applying for years with great success, and I want to show you the technique so you can use this for yourself. And it is called the beveled stroke. Now, when you're prepping your images for print competition, you're probably putting it on a mat just like this. It's always going to score higher with a mat. And you should be adding a stroke around the image to separate the image from the mat. Okay, and that is done in your layer styles. This little FX button at the bottom of your layers palette. You can just create a stroke and make it any color you want, and you always want to use a color from within the image or the mat or both to create that stroke. But what if you could make a stroke that looked almost 3D, where it's beveled and embossed, and it looks like it's got shading to it from light direction? Isn't that great? Okay, it's not that hard to do, and it's a technique I use all the time. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is create the stroke. And for this image, the stroke has already been created. I know how wide I want the stroke to be. I know what color I want it to be. But we're going to create a duplicate of this image simply for the reason of making a stroke that we can separate from the background and make it an element, not a layer style. That's the only way to make this work. So we're going to temporarily make a duplicate under Image, Duplicate. Okay, so now we have a duplicate image, and this is just temporary. We are going to change the stroke to something very contrasty, something we can separate very easily. So let's select, let's just go with a white. That will be the highest level of contrast that I can see. Okay, so we've got a stroke. Obviously this color isn't going to work, but the color is only temporary to help us separate it from the background. Okay, now we're going to flatten that, and again, this is just temporary. I'm going to layer flatten. It's going to ask me if I want to do something with the hidden layers. Yes, okay. Now we are just going to select that white stroke, which is no longer a layer style. It is part of the flattened image. We're just going to use the magic wand tool set to a pretty low tolerance, and we're just going to select it, and it's got the matte selected all the way around. Okay, we are going to grab the four-headed move tool. Well, we can move it right from there, but I suggest jumping it to its own layer. So Command J on a PC, Control J on a PC. I believe it's Command J on a Mac. So here we have this white stroke that is on its own layer. So we are going to hold down our Shift and drag it into the original image. Now our temporary image can be closed, and we don't want to save it. Now we can colorize it to the color that we want. First thing I'll do is grab a color from inside the mat. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to hold down the control button and then click the layer. And what that does is select that stroke or that frame that we created. And now we can fill it with the color that we selected. So we're going to go to Edit, Fill, and Background Color. Oh my gosh, that's almost dead on. That is just right on the money. Now we're going to bevel and emboss that. So let's zoom in real close so we can see what we're doing. Now we go back to Layer Styles, Bevel and Emboss. That's a little heavy, so we can adjust our settings to get the right look and feel for what we want to do. Okay, so we went from a brown stroke to a bevel stroke in just a few steps. Okay, really adds just that one last touch to your finished piece.